You're listening to Beyond the Couch podcast with Dr. Sally Nazari, where we look at you beyond the couch and build ways to enrich your life, share your triumphs, achieve your goals, and most importantly, where we'll be celebrating you. Let's get started. Welcome to Beyond the Couch, episode 8, everyone. I'm your host, licensed psychologist and Reiki master teacher, Dr. Sally Nazari, and I'm looking forward to sharing a brief Mindful Monday bit of information with you today. In the last few episodes, we've started looking more thoroughly at mindfulness with a focus on the physiology of how it affects us. We've also explored how this physiology can bring unique benefits for us in dealing with the prolonged stress response of navigating disruptions. And in our last episode, we started an in-depth glimpse into how trauma affects us with our Looking at PTSD series overview. Today, I want to more clearly connect these dots and explore how mindfulness helps us to more easily and more effectively work through the particular issues that come with the aftermath of a trauma. Let's look at some of the specifics and do a brief review. You may recall from our episodes 5 and 6 mindfulness discussions that mindfulness cultivates an attention and awareness of the present moment with an acceptance that allows for letting go of judgment. This can be difficult for people who are battling PTSD, where, as we discussed in the last episode, re-experiencing or reliving a scary, overwhelming event is constant. At the same time, for people with PTSD, there's often a sense of hyperarousal or strong emotional and physical reactivity in response to the thoughts, situations, feelings, or events that somehow remind them of the trauma. There's a sense of feeling stuck and caught in a loop where we can't escape the trauma or other threats. With mindfulness, though, we can stay focused on what's happening in the here and now to get an accurate sense of whether there's an actual threat surrounding us. This can also help us to more effectively deal with the upsetting and unsettling feelings that arise when we're dealing with the trauma response cycle. Over time and with practice, we begin to rewire the sense of danger that's constantly present. Not only this, but mindfulness can help us to create a greater sense of compassion towards ourselves and others. This can further help us to combat the ever-present sense of danger that accompanies traumatic experiences. Now, let's take a look at how and why this happens. We'll be revisiting the brain as we do. In our episode 1, Understanding Disruptions discussion, we looked at some of the ways that fight, flight, freeze responses serve to protect us and help us survive in the best ways available. We also started getting a sense of how this plays a role in both kicking off and maintaining the different symptom clusters of PTSD, such as re-experiencing and hyperarousal that I mentioned a few minutes ago, but also the avoidance and changes in thinking that are hallmarks of PTSD. Now, let's recall that our brain is in a constant state of change based on our experiences, a concept referred to as neuroplasticity. When we're faced with what our brain views as constant danger, our brain too changes in order to cope as a defense against further trauma. Neuroimaging techniques have highlighted 3 areas of the brain negatively affected by PTSD. The first of these is the amygdala, which is the emotion seat of the brain that alerts us to threats and danger and sounds an alarm signal, or the fight, flight, freeze response. Following a trauma experience, the amygdala is on constant alert and hyperactive, often sounding a danger alarm in the absence of danger. It's as if a danger button has been activated and cannot be shut off. With mindfulness practice, we can begin to slow down this hyper-alert signal. In fact, we discussed in episode 5 that scientists have found in studies looking at mindfulness practitioners that the amygdala was restructured to respond less and less actively to distressing situations. With the amygdala hyperactivated, it's in constant dialogue with the hippocampus, a cortical region that's critical for our learning and memory. The hippocampus is the second area of the brain negatively impacted by PTSD. It functions to organize and integrate our memories and sort them into pieces that not only make sense, but also follow a timeline. Amongst people with PTSD, this brain region has been noted to decrease in size, resulting in fragmented memories, flashbacks and intrusive memories about the trauma, and a hard time parsing out factually based knowledge from feelings. With the distress that comes from these kinds of experiences, the amygdala is again reactivated. Now, mindfulness practice has also been found to help enlarge the hippocampus of those who practice over a period of a few short months. This means that mindfulness can begin to help rehabilitate the negative neurobiological elements of trauma that contribute to the struggles we see in people with PTSD. With mindfulness, we can begin to shut off the danger signal when there are no threats so that people can begin to re-engage in the pieces of their lives that have become overwhelming, and also begin to reorganize and reintegrate memories so that fragmented memories of the past trauma can stop sounding the danger alarm signal and allow people to create new memories of experiences in the present day. The final area of the brain that PTSD negatively acts upon is the frontal lobe, our prefrontal cortex, which plays a key role in impulses, emotions, and fear responses. For those with PTSD, this area becomes more still, allowing more reflexive cortical functions to take over. But with a mindfulness practice, as we cultivate more and more awareness and clarity in our present experiences, we begin to reactivate the prefrontal cortex again. In fact, as we begin to restructure the amygdala and hippocampus again with mindfulness, the prefrontal cortex begins to have more room to play out its role too. This can help people make more deliberate choices about how to interact with their environment rather than falling prey to perceived threats. The more this is done, the more we begin to change the shape of this brain region also. To sum up, we've started to see the neurophysiological impact of both mindfulness and PTSD and how these can play a role in shaping a fulfilling life we want to celebrate. We've explored the way that mindfulness can help disentangle those with PTSD from the ongoing danger loop of responses that emerges with PTSD. In our upcoming episodes, we'll look more closely at each of the facets of PTSD and explore some more mindfulness tools. I look forward to sharing that with you. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Couch Podcast, a space for celebrating you. The contents of this episode are for informational and supplemental purposes only, and not a substitute for professional services. For more access to you beyond the couch, check out www.drsallynazari.com.